This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain. This is the world that you know.
That because
World
all
as
of
it
it
was
is
at
in
the
your
end of the
control.
20th
The survivor
century.
has no stimulus to react to. So
whenever
It
you
exists
get
now
to a
only as
pallet
part
or
of a
window
neural
or whatever
interactive
object that you're supposed to
simulation
use to help you get away
that we
from
call the
killers,
Matrix.
the spirit player can just stand still, and then as a survivor, you have no information.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today. Built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
I didn't say it would be easy, Neo. I just said it would be the truth.
Stop. Let me out. Let me out. I want out.
Easy, Neo.
Get this thing out of me. Get this thing out of me. Don't touch me. Stay away from me. Stay away from me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
It's gonna pop.
Breathe, Neo. Just breathe.
Alright guys, all jokes aside, there's a lot of things we gotta get through today. I'm gonna try and not make the video too long because it's just gonna be a pain otherwise. But I can tell you one thing, by the end of this video you're definitely gonna have a lot more information about Spirit than you've ever had. Okay, so we're going to start off the video by talking about the very trivial things about Spirit, even though these things would impact how you play against Spirit anyway. I would imagine that the person watching this video actually understands the basic principle of how her power works. You essentially travel from one spot to another without being seen. So it takes a second to be used and then it takes 15 seconds cooldown. If you're outside the terror radius you can hear a whooshing sound, and when you're inside you don't hear anything, although you can see her shards glow. This is a big factor, but this also depends on how close you are, and this doesn't really matter if you're outside that range of being able to see the shards anyway, because you'll be pretty close to exiting the terror radius hearing the whooshing sound, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's actually get into the video. So we're going to be looking at trivial things. Now, the first thing that I'm going to go over is the way shards work. So as soon as she holds down the right mouse button, the glass shards that are already on her body will activate and they will turn bright white. It's best to look at the feet first before looking at the upper torso, because the way that the shards activate is from the feet upwards first. And now the whole transition only takes like half a second, so you're barely going to notice it at times. But if you really want to know exactly when she goes into phasing, it's best to look at the feet. Now the most common place I usually look to see when she goes into phasing is her front left leg, her thigh. There's a really large glass shard and you can usually see it on most costumes. If not, there's plenty of other places that you can see the shards light up. And in this instance you can actually see it's the front right leg. So costumes actually do have a massive impact on shards as well. But I know what you guys are already thinking, because you can see what costume this is, and some veteran players might be like, hold on a second, this ain't right. Yes, this costume, you can actually see shards go on it. It was like this from as far back as I can remember. This clip came from the middle of 2019, like when Stranger Things came out. I don't remember exactly when this costume came out, but from what I can remember, the shards always did glow on this costume, so the school outfit makes no difference. I think what must have happened on how this misconception started was somebody must have had messed up graphic settings. As far as I know, every single graphic preset setting in the game works with shards glowing. Unless they've just done something in the config that's just messed it up, you should always be able to see the shards glowing. If you're not, you need to check your config. Now there is a benefit to actually changing something in the config to make shards a bit easier to see, and that is Ambient Occlusion. You can see in this clip that Ambient Occlusion actually wraps around the entire body. It doesn't actually go over the shards, so the darkness behind the shards, which are bright white, it makes it stand out a lot more, so they're easier to see. So this might be something you want to put on. So that's definitely a benefit. There's only 2 costumes in the game that actually are very difficult or have no shards at all. The Bloodlines Outfit, which is the new one that just came out, which is this one, has no shards on it whatsoever, and this is a pretty big issue. If you're a spirit player, I would just not use this. It's a bit of an unfair advantage towards survivors. It's a shame really, because it's actually a really cool outfit, I think. It's definitely one of my favourites, considering that I've always used the alternative basic colour since like the beginning. If you're a spirit player and you try and put this on to try and have an advantage, the only thing it's really going to do is negatively impact how you predict players, because they're reacting to something that they wouldn't normally react to because they can't see the shards glowing. So this will just hurt you in the long run. So I wouldn't bother equipping it until they fix it. And then there's the other one, which is the Hollowed Blight outfit. Now you can see the shards on this outfit, however this is the most difficult one to see because the rest of the shards are already glimmering. Attacker Masha helped me discover this during one of her streams, so big shout out to you, Masha, thanks for that. I did test it with a couple of people, and some people were saying they couldn't see the shards glimmering at all on this outfit. Yeah, I tested it with Masha and she could, so I think it's definitely something to do with the graphics settings, because I believe she's just using the preset settings. But anyhow, that's just with the shards. So there's definitely something there to do with graphic config sort of thing. You know, if you've changed up your settings and you're not seeing shards glow, then you might want to reset your config. Okay, so moving on, now that I've finished rambling on about shards for some reason, which you'll see later on, it's actually a big part of how you play against Spirit. So you need to make sure that these do work. So we're going to actually start going into the chase side of things now in the next portion of the video. But before we do, I just want to say a couple of things like, for one, if you blind the Spirit, she can't actually phase. If you didn't know that, now you do. Another thing is she can actually hear footsteps a lot louder on wet surface maps like Swamp, Hawkins Lab, Red Forest, and potentially any other wet surface terrain maps that come out. I don't think the new Chains of Hate map has got any wet parts in it. I'd be surprised if it does, being in the middle of a desert. So I did actually cover this in a no perks, no add-ons video, where I was just using the sound of footsteps on wet terrain maps and how powerful it can be. Well, there is another thing about wet surface maps. The survivors are not the only people that you can hear that are loud on that map. Guess who else is loud on that map? The Spirit! Hey! Right, so if we take a look here, we can actually see how loud this is. Now this bug has been around for quite some time, being able to hear the Spirit's feet. Although, I don't think they should remove it. I think it's a very cool way of actually predicting where the Spirit's gonna go. So let's take a quick listen. So you can actually hear feet on dry surface as well, but it's a lot quieter, but it can still be heard for sure. Especially if they're walking through grass as well. Now something to note is if you're in a chase, then the sound effects for the survivor also go down. Now this is quite known to be a thing for killers, that when killers are in chases, their sound effects actually drop a lot as well. It's not just the music volume that gets higher. And the same thing happens to survivor. Spirit doesn't really have any bad maps, maybe like large maps, but every killer has that issue. It's not too bad if she's running high-end speed add-ons. She can get around the map pretty quick. Lyri's is a tiny bit of a struggle. It can be a little bit difficult if the survivors all have Iron Will and they're running around and you don't have Strider, because it's so close quarters they can easily just slip away through a window or just round the corner. There's so many line of sight blockers, and that is the main thing of how you deal with Spirit, which I'll talk about later on in the video on how you outplay her. Now there are a bunch of perks that you can use against Spirit that are really good, there's a ton of them, and they're nowhere near as effective as they are against Spirit when it comes to other killers. I honestly don't know of a perk in similar strength like Iron Will is to Spirit and how much it can really shut down her power. I think maybe Calm Spirit versus Doctor, that's the only thing I could really think of, but it is so strong for a single perk to do so much against her. So obviously Iron Will is one of the best choices you can use against her, and it's really good against most killers in the game, or aside from Plague, so it's definitely something I use all the time, and it is a very meta perk. Now obviously the next argument to that is, what if Spirit is running Strider? Well, your volume becomes 50%, which is not that significant. See, the thing is with 50% volume is it's very situational. There's been many times where someone at 50% volume has juked me, or I just simply haven't heard them, where they've just doubled back. Especially if you're running speed add-ons on Spirit and you're chasing someone and they double back and they're at 50%, you can fly past them and you won't even hear them. So I definitely say 50% is better than 150% volume. Even the video that you see at the start where I drop a pallet on top of the Spirit, that was to do with me actually hearing her footsteps coming towards the pallet, predicting that she was also going to go around and then dropping the pallet. And she had Strider on top of that as well, because I had Iron Will. So she definitely knew I was there. I can tell you it's easier to track a survivor that's at 100% volume than it is a survivor that's at 50 or 150. So if you do run Iron Will, it doesn't really matter. And if you go into a game where you don't have Iron Will and they have Strider, you actually have a better odds than you do at 100% volume, because 100% is by far the most easiest way to track a survivor. Just on a little side note as well, if you use Fixated and Sprint Burst, you can actually run without actually leaving scratch marks, which is pretty handy. But enough talk about perks, because they are situational at the end of the day. It's what you bring into a game. Okay, so we're going to move on to some actual gameplay of me versus a friend of mine that's actually pretty good with Spirit. He's helped me out a lot, so big shout out to Blood for helping me out. In our games, we're only using default skin just to make things a bit simpler so people understand what they're seeing and whatnot. So we must have played for like, I don't know, like 3-4 hours. We played for quite a bit, just constantly rematching, playing, and we had some really good sessions. I think on average we definitely had over 40 to about a minute chase time against Spirit, which is pretty damn long. There was an odd few where I actually got caught within 20 seconds. Was it down to my mistakes? Most likely, but we're going to have a look and we're going to commentate over them and generally get an idea on how we actually start playing against Spirit. So straight up, let's look at this gameplay of me playing without Iron Will. So you're now going to see me actually using sound to bait her into thinking that I'm either by the pallet or the window. So the noise of the grunts, I'm just kind of sitting between the two so she thinks I'm roughly in that area, and then there we go. Okay, so I know she's coming from Shack, so I know her power's probably going to have about half of the usage left. What I was actually waiting to hear here was footsteps, but I didn't actually hear them, so I just ended up reacting to the red light and just dropped the pallet straight away, and I actually managed to get the stun. I definitely think she would have been able to hit me here if she reacted a lot quicker. That's definitely hittable, because reacting to the red stain alone is not enough to drop a pallet on her. So you've probably seen me do this quite a few times now, where I've dropped the pallet on top of the Spirit almost exactly at perfect timing, and you're probably wondering how I'm actually doing this. Well, pretty much listening to the footsteps. Now this tech only works outside of the terror radius when you can actually hear her coming towards you. Now you can do it within the terror radius, but there's a good chance that the music's going to be pretty loud, or the chase music is still going to be on, and you're not going to hear the footsteps. So this only works if you've got a lot of distance on Spirit and she comes straight at you and you can hear the very first footstep. Don't delay it, drop the pallet on the very first footstep you hear, and you can slam the pallet on her exactly. And then eventually it will get to a point in the match where she starts respecting the pallets in phasing, which happens quite a lot already from me just trying this tech out. So this really opens up the door on the kind of possibilities survivors can actually do here, because if a spirit starts respecting pallets in the phase, you know something's up. So you can easily have the survivor walk away and get distance instead of just running away from the pallet. Otherwise the spirit will see your scratch marks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some more video clips of this tech actually working, where you can actually hear the footsteps as she's coming up to the pallet. And in one case you can actually hear her on swamp going around the pallet, coming around the other side, and then dropping the pallet. So let's take a look. But just like any survivor tech against a killer, there's always risk, right? It's not always going to work. There is a counter to whatever juke or tech there is, so there's always risk. So do bear that in mind. So as you can see there, I actually heard the footsteps and I heard the grass move, but I still wasn't quite quick enough to throw down that pallet, so of course there is risk. Okay, so let's get back to some of these chases. In these clips I'm actually being quite stealthy, and you can see the advantages of just walking away in some situations can be really beneficial. Alright, let's take a look at some proper chases now. Okay, so the spirit here is actually going to phase at me from quite some distance away, so this gives me plenty of time to do whatever I want, basically. I'm just going to walk away from Shaq. He most likely thinks I'm going to play Shaq in some way or another, but I'm just simply just going to walk away. This was a really good play by the spirit, because I could have easily walked away from this situation, or the spirit could have just phased around very quickly and hit me, but I think that was probably one of the best options. Either that or walk away from this situation. It was well played. So at this point I was actually trying to bait her to phase round by healing, because if you hear somebody healing you're most likely just going to phase around and hit them. That's what I would do as a spirit. If someone's just going to stand there and heal, I'm going to try and phase round quickly and hit them. For me as a survivor, I was looking to slow vault back through the window, but he decided to vault through it, which was well played. Keep the pressure on. So in this situation I didn't actually hear any footsteps, but I didn't see the red stain, so I had a feeling it was going to be a phase, not a moonwalk. So I delayed it for a little bit and then I just threw down the pallet. So right here I was just trying to hang around by the window a little bit, just try and bait in a phase but the inside of the jungle gym. But I had the feeling after maybe a second or two that she was phasing around because she hadn't unphased yet. And then at the last couple of seconds before she did unphase, I heard the footsteps. So I just instantly started running. Okay, so this was actually very well played. So what he actually did here is he went into phase. He knows that I'm going to pay attention to the shards here, and he just spot phased. So that was very well played, because to be honest, I thought he would have went round or just a short jump. To be honest, it was a small loop anyway, so I had a feeling I was going to go down here regardless. See, the thing is about small loops is they're not the safest. There's a lot of small loops that are very unsafe. There's some medium ones that are too bad, but generally you just want to avoid these like the plague, because small loops will get you hit. That's why you've probably noticed a recurring theme of me hanging around by jungle gyms a lot, because jungle gyms and T-walls are actually the best way to play against Spirit, along with just general buildings that have windows. Shit looks so weird here, but the reason I actually paused it here is this animation is actually a bug, if you haven't noticed already. It seems to occur when the spirit is turning her camera extremely fast and then she decides to vault. I think this is just something that's happening with the new vault animation. It just seems to bug out. She kind of looks like the monster out of The Ring. Ah, look. Okay, so right here, this is something quite important that I haven't really spoke about yet, you've probably noticed that I don't actually walk through grass a lot of the time when I hear phasing. If I know there's a phase coming, or I hear there is phasing, I just avoid the grass, because obviously if you step in grass, she can see you. Also, I tend to see a lot of people moving in grass when they're right next to the killer, and they always get found like this. So if you're really close to the killer and you decide to move, only move if you have to run away. Either that or just stay put, and if he turns the corner, he looks at you, then you're going to get hit anyway, unless the pallet's right next to you while you're sitting in the grass. Just don't move. Okay, so this right here is usually a good indication that the spirit is actually afraid of losing you, because if you've noticed here, she's actually short jump. Now short jumping is actually very good. It's used quite a lot at loops, because loops are small and you can just dash around them, get the little phase lunge when you come out and just hit them. But when she's phase jumping in a situation like this, she's usually afraid of somebody double backing on her, which is a good sign. It means you can run away more. Although I don't think this will work on a spirit again, so you need to mix it up. Oh boy, yeah, this is a big one. Okay, so this tech is quite interesting, because I actually learned this from watching and playing against Rudy, who is a Spanish streamer. He is very good at this game, and he plays mainly Survivor. And I actually play him with my spirit, and we have a really good match. And I'm actually going to show you that match at the end of this video, because it's probably the most high-level spirit versus survivor match you will ever see. Like, holy moly, it's a good match. You need to see this. Okay, so what this tech is essentially is if you're at a window and the spirit is in a rush and you walk one way and then stop for like maybe a couple of seconds and then walk back the other way, she's probably already gone into phase, so she can't see you go back across the window. Now the spirit will just phase off to the left, thinking that you've gone left, when really, I've walked back the other way. And this is because the spirit is rushing. If she actually waited, she would have saw this. So that's the Rudy tech. Okay, so right here I believe she's swinging because she thinks I'm actually inside the jungle gym. I think this just shows how much of a good example 150% grunt volume actually is. It is ridiculously loud for the killer, to the point where she actually thinks I'm in the jungle gym. And if you paid attention to the shard, she was phasing for quite a bit there, so she probably thought I actually ran round as well, or jumped across the pallet. So she was definitely spot phasing. Okay, so I think I'm being a little bit cheeky here because she's spot phased quite often now and I keep trying to slide over the pallet, so I'm the one that's messing up here. I can make a much safer approach by just walking away and simply going behind an object and waiting for it to appear so then I can work out where I want to go. But I think I'm just being a little bit cheeky. Right, so if you're going to play on small loops, this is the best way to deal with this. She's most likely going to look for a short jump, but she wants to make sure that the short jump is also correct. So she's going to wait a little bit because she knows she can wait because she doesn't have to travel far in phasing. But if you're moving erratically to the point where you're running away, coming back, and then moving around and then crouching behind the box in front of her for like maybe 4 or 5 seconds will spook the hell out of her because they're like, hold on, what the hell is he doing? Should I just phase here? But then if I phase, he might just vault across the pallet. And then she sees you stand back up and then she's like, oh god, yeah, he would have. And then that just adds to the absolute mind game that is this small loop. But it's still really risky. I mean, the small loop is, you're still going to get hit. Like, you might as well just try and play it. It's not as good as the rest of all the other juke potentials that you have against Spirit. It's probably the worst scenario you could possibly be in is the small loop. Either that or a dead zone. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm always watching the shards. That's all I'm doing. I'm always watching the shards. I'm moving around and watching the shards. Okay, so I hesitated, right? So that's the problem here, is I hesitated. I wanted to run for the window, I wanted to vault it, but she was standing there, and she was spinning, and I hesitated. So this is a pretty normal issue if you play against Spirit. You tend to hesitate. Even I hesitate sometimes. And if you would have made the play, you definitely would have got it. And sometimes you just got to go for it. It's as simple as that, because I bet you in some circumstances, if you made that read, you would have had it. That's the way you gotta look at it. Also, just to go off topic a little bit here, with the whole spinning thing, you should never look at where they're looking, only if they're moving. So let me show you this quick clip of basically how you can get baited into actually coming back towards the spirit, or even just not doing anything. And I have done this to people, and many people. And it's kind of funny, to be honest, because you shouldn't be paying attention to where she's looking. You should never pay attention to where the spirit is looking. Only if she's near you and she isn't moving. If she isn't moving, you need to not do anything dodgy, because there's a good chance she's probably still there.
Oh no!
Well, did you hear it? Did you hear her walk right past me? Because she certainly did. You see, in this situation, I went round the corner and then came back round the other side, but I delayed it a little. I waited for her to go into phase, and then I slowly walked back the way I came. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to run into trees. On the other hand, you notice how I'm trying to get out the dead zone? Well, it's not really a dead zone, but it might as well as be, because being around all these small loops, I'm gonna die. So I'd rather take a hit and get the hell out of there than stick around. Okay, so now I'm really starting to regret not running away. By the way, when you do a slow vault on a pallet, you do make a noise when you jump off it. Something to bear in mind. Not all the time, but sometimes. Probably should have dead-harded a little sooner. It feels bad, man. Oh, well, this ain't good. Well, there we go, that's the last clip. I probably could have tried walking towards her when she starts to phase, because there is no collision now, and that really opens up the door of possibilities on things where you can try double backing on her a lot more, because even on small loops like that is something you can do. However, you always want to stick to buildings, T-walls and jungle gyms. That is the best way to slow down a spirit. So moving on, we are now going to have a look at the match between me and Rudy. I didn't actually have Strider in this match. He had Iron Will, so it was definitely an interesting match. I had the moderate charge and moderate speed add-on. Oh, by the way, in the matches I did with Blood, those matches were done with brown add-ons. So that was the brown charge and the brown speed add-on. But yeah, let's take a look at this Rudy match. So, if you don't know who Rudy is, he is a Spanish player that's been around since time began. Essentially, I've played this guy countless times over the years, especially in the old days. I even still got some footage here of when we originally played back in the day when DS was on pickup, and you could actually spin people and make them miss their decisive strike. Oh man, I still got that. That was a funny time. But yeah, I've played him a lot of times, but he probably doesn't know it's me because I play under a different alias. But anyway, let's take a look at the game.
Noemi con 700 puntos. Noé, muchísimas gracias de verdad. No la escucho. Está ahí.
Okay, so I'm playing the Spirit here, and what I'm trying to do, obviously someone's on the hook here if you can't see, and I'm trying to do the hook bait tech, which, if you're not familiar with, essentially the Spirit just stands quite close by, not too close, and then you just wait for a few seconds, maybe like 5 or 10 seconds, and then you phase. But the thing is, I phased in the direction that I thought someone would be coming from, and I was right, but I just wasn't looking properly because clearly he was standing right in the middle of the open. I thought he would have been crouched behind an object or something. But yeah, I can't believe I missed him. He was right there. But then I saw the Nia and went straight for the Nia.
¿Qué perra es, tío? ¿Qué perra es? ¿Qué perra es? Noé, muchísimas gracias por esos 700 puntos, te lo agradezco un montón. Y también sobre todo por usar la aplicación del que es Mode para suscribirte totalmente gratuita al canal. O sea, muchísimas gracias de verdad, Noé. Y gracias por esos 700 puntos. Te lo agradezco un montón, cariño. Muchas gracias, de verdad. Sí, con 2000 puntos ya se puede suscribir a alguien. Muchísimas gracias, de verdad. Roswell. Esta partida pinta mal, ¿eh? El killer vuelve constantemente. Tenemos un problema ahora. A ver si no la podemos llevar. Ahí viene. Vale, es una Spirit. Vamos a ver cómo podemos intentar emplearle un poco.
Okay, so this was the first juke he did. This was really smart. So essentially you run towards the pallet and then you wait until they stand still and start phasing, which was pretty obvious because I just completely stopped. I don't think he even needed to check my shards at that time because it was pretty obvious I was going to do it. But even still, kind of risky. I could have just stood there. But nonetheless, it was the right read and he double backed.
La partida, muy bien. Por mi parte estoy aquí. Perfecto. Y ahora lo que hago es que nuevamente le ganamos la ventaja hacia este lado. ¿Vale? Ha vuelto. En fin, este es el problema, chicos. Este es el problema, que es una Spirit. Y está volviendo constantemente cuando estoy tratando de darle la persecución. Pinta muy mal la partida, ¿vale? Hay que intentar tocar Yen, tocar Yen.
Okay, so right here, I couldn't actually see him, but I could hear him running up to me, so I knew he was going to be right beside me, so all I had to do was turn at this point and whack him. So everybody in this match actually had Iron Will, so I would say some people using it correctly. Rudy was definitely getting like 200% usage out of it, while the others were just moderately using it to some degree against Spirit. They could have done a better job at juking me at some spots. Also, something to note is when you're playing against Spirit, I haven't said this yet, but you absolutely need to make sure you do stay healed, especially if you don't have Iron Will. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you don't have it or you do have it. Staying healed is absolutely key to playing against Spirit because she has to hit you twice to down you. It's kind of funny actually because at some points in this match, you'll see that Rudy's trying to get healed, but his teammates are just cucking him by not healing him and just doing a totem. You'll see that later on, it's quite funny.
Vale, perfecto, nice. Y yo me vengo por aquí, es que no queda otra, gente. Tampoco es que quiera. Ahora viene a por mí, ¿por qué? Porque ya estoy herido.
Jesus, I just gotta say, the balls on this man, fucking I can't believe it did not dead hard. He did not dead hard this. I cannot believe it. Okay, so the reason I actually whiffed this attack is because recently the base lunge range on the phasing when you exit, this is just the default phasing lunge range. It actually got reduced by like a tiny little bit, maybe like 0.2 of a second or something. It's so minute, but it definitely made an impact here. You can really see it making an impact. Now I know for sure if this was the old default base lunge, that definitely would have hit. I just can't believe it didn't dead hard that. Oh my god. You know when someone's played this game a lot, they know exactly when not to dead hard. And he knew that was going to whiff. I don't know if he actually knew that was going to whiff or he was just gambling it. But that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
No tiro el chungo, porque sé que no me la pasará. Salta. Hola. Hola. Hola.
Oh, come on now, Rudy. Don't hang on my window vaulting, eh? Come on now. Yeah, so that's the window vault bug.
Se la come. Se la vuelve a comer porque Reo es el puto amo.
Oof, he done me dirty there. I didn't bother faking the phase there, I just went straight for it. Well played.
¿Me entiendes, Piri? Aunque saltes de lado.
Oh, he's trying to hit me with a tech again, but is it gonna work? I don't think so.
No, y aquí la he cagado. ¡Ah! ¡Fuck! Me ha hecho el fake. La hija de puta me ha hecho el puto fake. Ahí ya no podemos, chicos. ¿Habéis visto lo que ha hecho, tío? ¿Habéis visto cómo ha saltado? ¡Qué cómico, tío! Ha sido todo guapo, ¿eh? Ha saltado en plan de lado, digo. ¿Sabéis lo que me ha parecido? Que no estaba saltando. Yo pensaba que no estaba saltando, porque digo, lo mismo es un fake o ha pasado algo y no está saltando. Ha saltado de lado. ¡Qué guay! No hemos podido. Y ahora no viene a por mí, nice. Y a ver si me puedo llegar a curar, tío. A ver si aquí el compi, mira, cúrame, loco, cúrame. Vale, me van a poder curar, chicos. Bien, y le hemos leído el fake. Obviamente lo que nosotros le hemos hecho es otro fake. Le hemos hecho como que nos vamos para el lado, pero era mentira, porque sé que estabas intentando el fake. ¡Quillo!
His whole team is just AFK doing chests and totems. I definitely think if these survivors were a bit more optimal that he was playing with, they would most likely be on the last gen now.
¡Hermano! Gracias, tío. Menos mal, gente. Raglar, muy buena. Y yo. ¿Qué está pasando, tío? Están muy cagados, ¿eh? Y es un problema de que estén muy cagados. El killer, el problema es que está siempre volviendo. Y entonces nos está dificultando aún más la jugabilidad, ¿no? A ver lo que podemos hacer, porque está ahí. No se va. A ver si me la puedo jugar en doble ventana. Una Spirit, ¿no? Sí, me voy a tener que jugar en una doble ventana. ¿Vale?
So again here he actually hits me with this tech where you run out of sight just before they phase and run back. To be fair, I didn't think he'd do it again, but I think he just wants to show it off a bit more on how you can potentially juke the spirit, which is a good thing really, because let's be honest, a lot of people are still struggling against spirit.
Se la come. Y nosotros llegamos al palé, así que... No queda otra. Es Spirit. Está pegando TP. Aquí se la come. Utilizamos el palé.
Okay, so right here I'm actually deliberately placing myself in sight so he can see me, because I'm actually going to go for a fake phase here, and I'm hoping that he will come back towards me, but he doesn't actually do that, and he's about to leave the terror radius, so he's about to hear the whooshing sound if I were phasing, and then he's going to realise that I'm not actually phasing at all because there is no sound. So then I have to quickly phase and catch up.
Y aquí se la vuelve a comer. Una partida que está complicada porque el killer es spirit y decide volver. Pero a mí son partidas que me gustan porque te tienes que autoexigir, ¿sabes? Y al autoexigirte es cuando tú vas siempre avanzando. ¿Me entiendes? Kuro, Penguin, grande, te quiero, Patito. Bienvenido a Legorn, se te quiere. Anarco, grande. Eres un puto amo, tío. Bienvenidos, chicos, a todos, de verdad. O sea, no... Si es que sois maravillosos, gente. Sois maravillosos, chicos. Tiene que ir el compi, Te la has comido, Ahí se la ha comido muy bien. Y ya está, mira. Vámonos. ¿Seguro? Está pegado el TP. Ahora me voy a tener que comer el friki. Lo estáis viendo, me voy a tener que comer el friki. ¿Para qué? Para que el compi pueda hacer algo. Y ahora nosotros aquí pues lo tenemos más F que...
So I actually had a hard read here. I knew he was going to go wide and go along down the side of the jungle gym, but the problem is I wasn't actually fast enough. The speed add-on that I had on was only moderate, so even with a full charge depleted, I didn't get far.
Bien. ¡Cúbreme un golpe! ¡Cúbreme un golpe!
Okay, so at this point, I saw that he used Dead Hard to make the distance to get to the pallet, which was a smart move because he wouldn't have made it otherwise. But I did realise that Nia to my left was in a dead zone, so it's pretty obvious who I'm going to go for here.
Se la ha comido. Perfecto. Nice. Ya quedan 2 motores, me llevo otra persecución. Que salimos airosos otra vez de la persecución. He tirado el chungo para hacerle el fake. El chungo ese no era para tirar el palé, era para hacerle que entro, pero era broma. Me iba a salir y seguir ganándole distancia, ¿sabes? Y dejar el palé ahí. Bien, otra persecución que le hemos tenido que regalar un hit, pero que hemos podido intentar algo, ¿no? Así que vamos a curar ahora al compi. Venga, nos restablecemos los 3. En teoría creo que va a dar tiempo. Vamos a ver, Patiro. Muy buenas, Oak. Se te quiere, mi niño. Bienvenido al canal, Cristian. Chavales, muchísimas gracias, de verdad. El canal está creciendo una barbaridad. Sin hosteos ni nada. A los 25 minutos éramos ya 200 personas. Y actualmente estamos en 300. Esto es una locura. Muchísimas gracias por todo el apoyo que me ofrecéis. Y espero, como siempre digo, seguir trayendo contenido que os guste, que es lo único que quiero. Seguir trayendo contenido de disfrute. Y que muchísimas gracias a todos por el apoyo. Que me animáis un montón a esforzarme y a seguir con todo, tío. O sea, no lo sabéis cuánto para un creador de contenido es esto de importante, ¿no? Porque siempre me he considerado streamer, pero creo que ya con el tema de la caña que le hemos pegado a YouTube y el crecimiento que hemos tenido brutal en YouTube, ya pues el tema ese, ¿no? Creador de contenido y todo esto gracias a vosotros, no a mí. Es gracias a vosotros que estáis ahí cada día apoyando. Y a todas las personas tan generosas que tenemos en esta comunidad, ¿no? Que como siempre os digo, DBD tiene muchos problemas, pero siempre hay personas muy bonitas. Y vosotros sois esa parte bonita de este juego. Unas palabritas bonitas para vosotros. ¿Qué tal, capitán? Pues, capitán, la verdad, llevamos unas cuantas de partidas muy fuertes, ¿vale? Unas cuantas de partidas muy fuertes. Y esta Spirit ha tenido que abandonar bastante las persecuciones porque le hemos dado cañita, Con lo cual me ha gustado porque te tienes que autoexigir. Y no es fácil, ¿no? Y más contra una Spirit. Pero muy contento, vamos a ver si intenta luguear, ¿vale? Es muy importante.
Ooh, I can't believe I didn't see him then. However, this is pretty risky what he's about to do now, because if I would have saw him, I still would have done what I'm doing now, except from I would have faked phase, and I would have waited for him to go to the body, and then I would have just phased behind me and hit him. So this is quite risky, especially considering this is a dead zone. But he makes the play anyway.
Pégate, sí. Es normal, Intenta luguear. ¿Qué hago yo? rápidamente me vengo a por el que está en el suelo. ¿Por qué? Porque si luguea ese, solo quedo yo en pie. Tenemos problemas. Ahora, ¿qué es lo que hago? Que todavía no lo he lugueado y yo lo levanto y lo sigo curando, porque no viene. ¿Me entiendes? Lleva tanatofobia, es spirit, tengo uno en el suelo, lo intento y ahora el killer viene sabiendo que no... El corazón. El corazón.
Oh yeah, so I wanted to give him one of those cheeky looks like, oh yeah, I'm gonna deal with you later, boy.
Quiere al que está herido, es normal, ¿no? Porque lo hemos levantado y con esto provoco que estemos todavía los tres en pie. Bien, seguimos. Muy buenas, Polaque. No llevará Noé. Oye, puede ser. Puede ser que lleve Noé. Rápido y silencioso, puede ser que lleve Noé. Yo siempre lo he dicho, el Noé es una pérdida del juego y, coño, está muy bien para late game. Lo que pasa que no sé si lo llevará. Creo que no queda totem. Eso es lo que sí te puedo decir con certeza. Creo que no lleva totem. Pero, a ver qué tal. Muy buenas, Goodme. Bienvenido al canal. Vamos, Oma Junior. Se te sigue por tu calidad del juego y carisma, men. Me caes muy bien. Qué grande, tío. O sea, muchísimas gracias.
Okay, so at this point there's 2 people left. I just used popping on a gen that they've worked on the most. I'm feeling extremely comfortable right now. I feel like I don't have to rush my phases. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Especially in this meta now where gens do tend to go a bit faster. Spirits tend to rush, and that's why the juke he's been doing is so good, because I feel like I'm pressured to make a play straight away. Like if I try and fake phase, he could potentially run away or he could hide, and then I'm just kind of screwed because I'm wasting time. So that's why good spirits will generally feel a bit more pressure to make a play straight away. And that goes to another thing where you'll know if you're facing a good spirit or not, because if they're phasing at you when you're fully healed, that's usually one of the best indicators, because that means even if they have Strider, that means they know how to play without Strider. They don't need to hear injured sounds. A lot of spirits you'll probably come across usually will try and get very easy hits, phase them and hit them, or they might run make your choice or something. You know, there's some strange ways of playing spirit out there, but that's generally how some people play.
Por esas palabritas, loco.
No hagas ni puto caso a mi mensaje en Discord que el desgraciado de Foca me ha troleado.
¿Sí?
Anda, nos vemos el sábado. Y a ver si hablamos, que tengo cositas calentitas.
Te la has comido. Es que le he baiteado de nuevo. Le he baiteado de nuevo, gente. Es que la estamos controlando, tío. Aunque sea Spirit, aunque tenga el poder, le estamos dando bastante caña en las chases, gente. En las tomas de decisiones. Nos vamos por aquí, pero es broma, nos vamos por allí.
Okay, so now I'm starting to pick up where he's standing and what his habits are. So now it makes it phasing a little bit easier to predict.
Oh, ahora muy bien. Ahora ahí no podemos hacer nada. Y ahora ya vas a tirar el TP, ¿no? O no, tiras TP, espérate. Sí. Ah, he tirado.
Ooh, okay, so I really don't think he should have greeded for this pallet here, because there's no point greeding for it when you're going to run around this loop. I'm not even really going to try and chase you down to force the pallet drop, because I can just wait until my power comes back and then I'm just going to short jump you. So he would have had a much better chance if he dropped it. Definitely would have stunned me, that's for sure, because I was banking on him not reacting, which is kind of what happened here. He's dead hard debugged, which is kind of like a reactionary thing, but it's not. You know, it's just lag, latency. He really should have just dropped the pallet. Okay, so that's it. That is the video. It's quite a long one. Good game to Rudy as well. That was a pretty good match. And I think most importantly, I think the meta of playing against Spirit is now going to evolve. And in time, people are going to have a lot of fun playing against Spirit. Especially, you know, I mean, if you look at Rudy, he's having so much fun playing against Spirit, right? He definitely got his feel-good moments. So these things are definitely possible. Now, when it comes to, obviously, combat and Strider, because Strider wasn't a thing in that game, was it? So there are definitely things he can do. It'd be interesting to see how he plays against Strider as well. You know, 50% volume is not... a massive deal. You can still walk away in some situations depending on what it is, of course. Like if I was at a jungle gym window and the spirit is on the other side, I could potentially walk away in that situation because it's not that loud. I have to be in arm's reach distance to actually hear you, so pretty much passing over you or next to you. Another thing to remember is Strider is a costly perk to have on in this meta when its gens are going fast. Usually I would say you would need 2 gen perks, maybe 1, depending on what your character's mobility is like, and Spirit's mobility can be, for the most part, a bit iffy. She does struggle with split pressure on gens, especially now in this meta. But then again, she has one of the best steamroll powers in the game, where if all the survivors group up together, they're all gonna die. But as soon as people start splitting up, she starts collapsing. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've all learned something today. Goodbye guys.